Every single time you stream a movie, hop on a video call, or send some money, you're tapping into this massive, hidden network of cables running along the ocean floor. It's the invisible backbone of our entire digital life. And right now, control over that backbone is totally up for grabs. And the scale of this thing is just mind-boggling. We're not talking about some of the data. We're talking about pretty much all of it. Over 99% of the traffic that connects the continents, powering more than $10 trillion in transactions every single day, flows through these physical wires. This isn't just the internet. It is literally the circulatory system of the entire global economy. But here's the thing. That system is way more fragile than you might think. And a new, high-stakes race is on to build a faster, stronger, more secure route for all that data. The battleground for this new digital Cold War? It isn't in Silicon Valley. It's in the freezing cold waters around Greenland. So why the sudden rush? Why now? Well, it's because the old routes, the ones we've been relying on for decades, are becoming a huge liability. Think about it. Most of the world's data gets funneled through just a few geographic choke points. They're like these massive digital traffic jams. You've got critical connections between Europe and Asia squeezing through the Red Sea. And traffic in the Pacific, it has to navigate the super crowded straits of Malacca and Taiwan. And those choke points are incredibly vulnerable. I mean, the cable cuts in the Red Sea back in 2025 were a brutal wake-up call, knocking out connectivity for whole regions. These southern routes are exposed to everything from a stray ship anchor to straight-up geopolitical sabotage. The internet just needs a better path forward. And that better path? It runs straight through the north. Geographically, Greenland is the perfect solution. It's a shortcut that's faster, it's safer, and, thanks to the icy water, it's literally cooler for all the high-tech equipment. And what's so wild is just the simple physics of it. A typical cable running from Japan to the UK travels about 23,000 kilometers. This new Arctic route, called Far North Fiber, it just slashes that distance by 40%, down to around 14,000 kilometers. It's basically the digital version of the Panama Canal. And a shorter path means one thing above all else: speed. We're talking about shaving 25 to 35 milliseconds off the data trip from Tokyo to London. Now, that might not sound like a lot to you and me, but in high-frequency trading, that's a billion-dollar advantage. For things like AI and cloud computing, it is a game-changing performance boost. Now, if you're thinking, this sounds kind of risky or experimental, well, it's not. The Greenland Connect cable has been quietly and reliably operating in the Arctic since 2009. It's been a massively underutilized, sure, but it has proven for over a decade that this tech is stable, it's reliable, and it's absolutely ready to scale up. But look, this isn't just about being technically better. Controlling this route is like owning the world's most valuable digital toll road, and the potential payoff is just enormous. The business model is actually pretty simple. Any company that wants to use this super fast route has to pay a transit fee to land its cable on Greenland's territory. It's that simple. More traffic, more fees. So let's talk numbers. Even if you're being super conservative, with just modest adoption, the routing fees alone could bring in over $2.25 billion in the first decade. That's a pretty solid return. But what if you're more aggressive? What if Greenland becomes the primary Arctic hub for a whole bunch of new cables? Well, then that number rockets up to $11 billion. And remember, that's just from the transit fees alone. And this is where you see the true scale of the prize. When you combine this high-speed routing with local data centers powered by Greenland's own natural resources, the economic value just explodes to a staggering $677 billion. We are not just talking about laying a cable anymore. We're talking about building an entirely new global hub for the digital economy. Of course, an economic prize this huge was always going to become a geopolitical one. This isn't just business anymore. It's a strategic chess match for control over the future of how data flows around the world. And the two main players are exactly who you'd expect: the US and China. The US government, through a group called Team Telecom, is already blocking Chinese-backed cable projects, citing national security. Meanwhile, China is pushing ahead with its own Polar Silk Road to build its own infrastructure. And Greenland is caught right in the middle of this massive digital tug-of-war. So this leaves the West with a massive dilemma, and basically 3 ways to play it. Do you build a Western-only network? It would be super secure, but you'd make less money and just push China to build a rival system. Or do you create a totally neutral hub? That would maximize revenue, but you'd lose control and open yourself up to security risks. Or do you try a dual-track approach, building separate secure and commercial networks side by side. There are absolutely no easy answers here. And whatever the decision is, it has to be made like yesterday. This is a race with a very clear finish line, and that window of opportunity, it is closing fast. The timeline here is incredibly aggressive. The groundwork, securing the landing rights, that needs to happen in the next year or so. By 2028, the first big cable, Far North Fiber, is supposed to go live. Whoever controls that initial hub gets a massive head start, and the next 2 years will be all about scaling up to lock in that advantage for good. At the end of the day, first mover advantage is everything. With infrastructure this huge, the first player to build a reliable, dominant hub can lock in that leadership position for decades. The choices made in the next 24 months could very well define how global data flows for the next 30 years. Look, this is not some theoretical debate. Construction is already happening. That Far North Fiber cable is going to be operational by 2028. The pieces are moving on the board right now as we speak. So the only question left is, who's going to make the winning move in this incredible race for the Arctic?